4 acres.
Fill it in.
Shade. Play start. Our lead would be our first game. Plus Leah's out still. Madison's going on vacation. So we're out 3 varsity players this night.
Hang on. Remember when we took Z and freshmen over to the Shelby tournament? Well, we took Kenny and Carmine, but they weren't allowed to play. Kellen was playing all-star game.
Oh, you going, Sam?
I got it.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Always beat Thompson Falls. 8th grade did. Yeah. Loss ran 1-3-1 the entire time. It was good, man. We got to see, we had two games where we had to run X. With 8th graders, so that's good. Mhm.
New chairs. These came from the Montana Co-op.
Montana Co-op.
Donated. We were able to swap out the old ones. They're nice.
Really quick off the top of my head, I can't remember who's vice chair. So, your meeting, boss. Yeah. Clean your glasses, bud. You're running this show.
They're quick to point out. It's Tony.
I'll whisper to you if you need something.
I really thought Mary was.
No.
She has been.
Yeah.
Isn't currently.
What's that, what on City Hall?
Oh, they have their like work session
Oh.
meeting, technically a special meeting, because they had to accept or reject bids for the school project.
A lot of cars, I didn't think it was a fire night.
Nope, yeah, that's what it is, yeah. So,
Who else ran?
We'll go to the city time to play. So laws are both times. They get it. They're not good at it yet, but they get it, which was nice. I think that whoever's going to be coaching will not have to introduce it. Just a little longer too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a killer. Hard to get diagonal zips. So zip on the ball for that. Ball fake.
And he ran it extended too, so they had to run press breaker against it. So
Did it win the first time?
lost him the first time to the Garden, but he missed about 40 yards. Should have won. Two guys. Garden, good guy.
We were getting in.
For Garden, good guy. They scored all the times.
Tom, ready?
Yeah, let's roll.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, so it stopped beeping. Okay, you got roll call done?
Roll call, we have quorum. Jeff Evans is absent for the duration of the meeting.
Okay, move on to 3.1, approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, public comments or questions to related or non-agenda items? All right. Move on to consent agenda. Entertain a motion for consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second that. Comments or questions?
Now, is this if we had something on the minutes that was, would you bring that up? It was just JP instead of Tim. Not a big deal.
So I just have JP instead of Tim on my board action list here too, so.
Oh, I thought it was a test to see
That
if
is
we
not a
actually read
test,
them.
that is a mistake, so I can amend those, but yeah, we'll sign them out at the end and it's I don't think, I think you're a completely different person, Mr. Michelle,
Yeah.
Probably the haircut.
Yeah, I think so, yeah, close, similar, and age too.
I do have just a couple of questions about the warrant.
Yes.
And I really, just to clarify, just a couple. On 2 of 8, the first sort of David's page, second page, a couple of things. What is ARP, Food and Security?
So that is a grant that we received. Short version of explaining it is it's called the homeless grant. ARP,
Same thing.
yeah, stands for that grant, and we ran some expenditures out of that to close it out for the year.
Then on that same page, there's a van fuel.
Yes.
Why don't, I would think that's the first time I've ever seen like a vehicle fuel thing on here. I would think there'd be a couple of those
Yeah,
every,
there should be. It just depends on how I tag it when it goes
Okay.
through.
Yeah.
We use the credit cards to buy all of our fuel. So as it goes through, I'll either tag it like Cenex or van fuel so that it signals what it is that we are purchasing, or just fuel.
okay.
So
Yeah, I was just curious why I hadn't seen that before, but that's what I figured.
Yep.
On 4, page 4. Yeah, there's a thing called Lake County Treasure Irrigation.
So that's the tax bill that came out.
Okay.
The school district has to pay for the irrigation portion of that, but we don't have the state property tax, so
Right.
that's our portion.
That's an annual bill there.
It's an annual bill.
Okay.
So that's both of them. The fall and the spring at the same time. Just get out the door.
And then finally on 3 of 5, it turns out to be, you know what I'm saying?
Well, 3 to 5, I run these in multiple spots, so this would be the second run, 5 pages.
If you look at the very far left, Sean, there's a line item number.
Right.
Because those are, should be in sequence, right?
They should be, yeah.
Page 10, where did I see this? And this is just, maybe I was just shocked by it. Line item 9, I can't read it, so that doesn't help much. Anyway, right in the middle of that page is a battery.
Yeah.
What's that
Scrubber,
go to?
the scrubber
Really?
battery. Steve came in, he was like, we need a new scrubber battery, so yeah, let's go do it, and he came back with the invoice, and all of us had the same reaction.
And you can buy just a battery like that? Sure.
I mean, I'd have to defer that to the maintenance guy, but he went down
Must have
and
gotten it.
he purchased one, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
Was there another one later on in the, seemed like I was running across two that could have the same question.
Whether or not there was 2 batteries, I think he
I
did have
just
to
saw
buy a
one.
vehicle battery as well,
I saw ones in this.
which were not cheap either, but the
Yeah, sure.
expensive one was the scrubber.
My initial thought was, what would electric bus cost to read battery if the scrubber costs $2,000? Was my just a side note.
Yeah.
I was just shocked. I was like, "Oh, I don't mind it."
Right.
Anyway, that's all.
I thought I'd let Tim go, and then I won't repeat any of them. I just had a couple.
Okay.
On the, let's see, it was the Harmony bill, because that's our first Harmony payment.
That's our first Harmony payment.
And this is when you kind of explain, we won't actually see the income until the following year because of the A and B.
Well, correct. We'll show you kind of tonight, like the A and B numbers in the presentation, but no, we won't see that trickle through the general fund until next year.
Is that a one-time billing? Is that
We'll get another one.
Get 2 of those, so it'll cost us 60 this year. We'll get 120 in A and B next year, so it'll be a gain of 60 for next year. Not a lot, but it's better than that.
Yeah.
And then just one other on the trips. The first big number is just the per trip. And then each trip
yeah.
was broke down.
Yes,
per-
so on Smith Transportation, you have is it $150 or $175 that he charges per trip, that fee? So if he has 28 trips, multiply that by the 175, and that's the first big number, and then the rest of them are each individual trip mileage.
And then 3 different payments as far as the routes go, total like 50, but 3 times or 3 entries for routes.
Okay, so that has to do with a reporting requirement that we have at the state level now, where we have to break those down. Those, like transportation is one of them, that you have to break down per student. So I take the amount of kids in the elementary, divided by the total, and you come up with a percentage, and then break that bill out as a percentage for each building. So you have elementary, middle school, high school. The sum of it is the total amount that Jeff is charging us, but it's broken out into per child.
That was all I had.
Okay.
Any more? Anyone else? There's a first or a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, 6.01 presentations, Ms. Nolan.
So I brought her copies of the presentation to in case you wanted them. And thank you, Mr. Sargent, for getting this on the agenda early too. If you want to look at it. So I had asked Mr. Sargent earlier, I guess it was in October when we came back from one of our field trips, if we could come and talk to the board about our dual credit class that we're just finishing with SKC. And so I brought 2 of my students from that class, and I just wanted to go through kind of what we've been doing this semester and then let them have an opportunity to tell kind of what they've gained out of it and maybe some of their favorite parts about it. So the first page, we just talked about this is straight from the syllabus that Leanne Corville, she's the one I partnered with to bring this class to life. And so the purpose was to provide an overview of some of the issues and practices and methodology in early childhood education. And the students did get to spend a whole class period going over the professional standards in the field, which I think was really informative for them to see what that looked like. So the next page, these are some of the things that we got to do. Leanne came and talked to them specifically about storytime props and their importance in early childhood education. And so to follow that up, we made Yaya dolls to go with that. Being in the family consumer science classroom, I have lots and lots and lots of fabric. And Adele had come in last year and shown us how to do this. So, and most of the kids knew how to make these. So these were some of the dolls we came out of the class with. I particularly liked this one because Keitra added hair to her yo-yo doll. I hadn't seen one like that before. So it was a really fun thing to do. We were able to secure some grant funding through Montana Office of Public Instruction. Had, I believe, some leftover COVID funding or ESSER grants or something that they funneled into Donors Choose, which is a place that teachers can go and create like mini grant proposals to fund different things in their classroom. And so as long as it was tied to literacy, you could apply for this. So I put in a grant and we got, I think it was like $500 worth of resources specifically targeted at littles for early childhood because we didn't have any in our classroom. So then Leanne came in and talked with the students about how to really analyze those for quality educational resources. So that was really fun to be able to do that with her. I think our favorite part of the class so far was we were able to go to the University of Montana and go to their lab, which is the Learning and Belonging Center. And it's an early childhood education center that is open to the public, but it's really targeted for maybe people that are moderate to low income. And they have observation suites where you can go and it's glassed off and you can watch the students interact with their teachers. There's microphones in all of the classrooms. So it's a really, really beneficial way for us to be able to observe kind of that authentic learning happening in the early childhood education classroom. So you can see up in the corner there, the kids are actually doing some observation through the two-way mirrors. In addition to that, we were able to explore one of their classrooms, and it was kind of mind-blowing. The rich resources that they had in the classroom for the students was pretty amazing. In the afternoon, we were able to go to the Missoula Public Library and get a personalized tour of the brand new facility, which is amazing, and also houses UM Spectrum Learning Lab. So these are some pictures of the students kind of working in the UM Spectrum Lab or exploring it, which was pretty fun. How did you guys like that trip? And then finally, Leanne said, I don't get to do very much hands-on with the students. So how about if we we'll make oobleck. So she brought the ingredients and stuff to make oobleck. And what was the Dr. Seuss book that we worked with on that one? What was the name of it? I can't remember. Yeah, so oobleck was from a Dr. Seuss book, and I can't remember the name of it. But they created the stuff, which I don't even know how to explain it because it's such cool, like it's a liquid and a solid. What's that? There we go. I just thought it was really fun to play with. And from that, they were able to create, and it's kind of cut off on the side there, but they were able to create lesson plans to go with that about how to present stories in the classroom and how to enrich those stories with playtime activities. So we got a lot of interaction with Leanne in the class. So one of the final things I wanted to talk about is where we go next, because her part of our time together is kind of done. And we had 9 students that came into the class. All 9 of them will be receiving 3 early childhood education credits from SKC. We were able to add a 4th credit because I am certified to teach CPR, first aid, and AED. So the students are working through that program right now, and they're finishing up their online classes, and then we'll do the hands-on part of it. Mr. Sargent, we were able to purchase mannequins last year. So this will actually count as a 1 credit class, saving the students in the district $378 because that's what it would have cost to be certified. And then we will end our year with Real Care Babies, and they're all really excited about this. So Mr. Hendrickson was able to procure us 8 Real Care Babies from Polson High School when they closed their FACS program. And so I have been really reluctant to get them out because I'm not really an early childhood baby kind of person. And when I did get them out, they were all screaming at me. And so, but we do have them, and they're pretty awesome. It will tell me if they have been fed, if they've been changed, if they've been neglected. We purchased car seats through FCCLA last year to go with each of the babies. So I will have someone come in and teach the students how to properly install car seats, and they will be responsible for the babies for a week. And they're so excited about it. So that's kind of how we're looking to end our semester with early childhood education. Sorry, it gets to be night and I start coughing a lot. I apologize. So in the end, what I really wanted to share with the board is that the students were able to receive 3 credits through SKC towards their early childhood education associate's degree, if that's what they choose to do. And there 1 credit for CPR, which is also a required class for that particular degree. I did a little bit of looking at numbers. Students that are Native American, this would have cost them $332 for 4 credits. Descendant students would have been $404, and non-Indian but Montana resident students would be $564. So through this partnership with SKC, we were able to provide quite a chunk of really high quality education at no cost to the district or the students, which I think is pretty amazing. I'm actually looking forward to maybe doing some more of that. So do you guys want to maybe say what your favorite part of the class has been, or maybe least favorite? I don't know.
I'm Teacher Thomas, you guys don't know who I am. My favorite part of this class is how hands-on we are and how together we are. It kind of just brings us together when we're doing things, and I really appreciate Leanne coming in and teaching us all these things we didn't know.
I really liked how interactive and knowledgeable Leanne is, and she credits you for asking good questions. She's like, hey, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out for you. And I just think it's really cool that teachers, or good teachers, that do that. And she took us all these places. It was pretty cool.
So I think I just wanted to let you know exactly who was involved in bringing this to fruition. First of all, I want to thank Shannon for it because she and I had to kind of talk about when it was going to be offered and stuff so that it would fit the SKC schedule and the and Leanne's schedule. So I really appreciate her work on scheduling to make this happen. And then of course the SKC Early Education Department, Leanne, University of Montana, the Learning and Belonging School, Missoula Public Library, Kristen Horgessi from the Learning Lab, Kayla Whitaker is the children's librarian at Missoula Public Library, and then Lindy Warden, who takes care of all the registration and everything at SKC. So I think we've made a really good partnership, and I think the kids really are taking some pretty cool stuff away from it. So anyway, just a little brief glimpse into early childhood ed enrollment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Good job, ladies.
Yeah.
Questions?
Ask a couple things.
Absolutely.
So what is Leanne's training?
She is, I don't know, I want to say she's the chair maybe of early childhood ed up there.
At SKC.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You girls are what age?
Juniors.
What's that?
Juniors.
Juniors? Have you been in the Missoula Public Library? The kids, you've been there before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
I have.
cool.
But
Yeah.
a couple of the girls or a couple of kids hadn't been in there before. So like it was cool to see them
Yeah.
like experience it.
It's a neat place. So are your thoughts of doing more of this next year?
I think it would be really cool. Leanne and I really enjoyed working together on early childhood
Do you
education.
think that it will be continued to be funded?
I would hope so. It's going to depend a lot on the grant funding through SKC. I know that Amy Berland is planning on retiring it there, and she's been kind of the main grant writer for the education department. I don't know whether she'll be consulting or whatever, but I guess time will tell. Like everything education right now, it's a little
Yeah.
up in the air.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to see this continue. I would love to see this
Did you
continue.
just have the one day in Missoula?
We just went one day in Missoula, but we took the whole day. So we went morning to the University of Montana and then afternoon at the, and it was not long enough.
Yes.
It's not long enough.
Yeah. I can imagine. Well, it's I gotta tell you, I've done some subbing in the elementary and you have a big job ahead.
Right? And we love that Leanne is so positive about it.
Yeah. Ooh. 'Cause it wears an old man out. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
One quick question, as far as, so they're dual, there'd be college credits.
Yep.
Does the, like, university and SKC have like a transfer credit policy? Will SKC take in U of M credits and vice versa?
It can get a little bit sticky. I don't know if Shannon can talk a little bit more about that, but I know in personal experience, my son had to complete his associates for all of his SKC stuff to transfer just because their scheduling is a little bit different because they're on trimesters versus semesters. And so their credit, it's a little wonky that way. But if they were to go and complete their associates, they could go into any 4-year program. But I don't know why they'd want to not finish at SKC. They've got, I mean, they're really progressive and doing amazing things in the education department up there.
Yeah,
That's
so-
just my 2 cents.
And this is just offered to juniors and seniors, right? Because of the
Do we
dual.
have a sophomore? Yeah, we do have a couple of sophomores in there. We do. Not freshmen, but we offered it 10, 12, I believe.
And so it could be if it's offered next year, it could be the same.
I don't
mixture.
know that we'd want to offer the exact same class 2 years in a row. I think we maybe want to offer something a little bit different, maybe in early childhood, but maybe a different class, and then maybe flip them so that you're not getting the same thing every year.
I know you said the time with Leanne is over, right?
Mhm.
So is the class still going?
Yes, because we're on semesters.
Yeah.
So they're quarter finished, so they will get their SKC grade, but we will finish the semester, which is why we put CPR and early childhood or the real care babies, and we got some other things that we're gonna do in there.
Is there a plan to put kind of what they learned into work with our students down below?
Well, that's gonna depend completely on our TKO teacher, being that she's brand new. She was a little overwhelmed, so I didn't want to bring a group of students in and inundate her even more. We did try to reach out. I have done some work with Head Start as well, but the time that we have the class is during their nap time.
Oh,
So last year we did reach out and we did some work with Head Start, and the kids really enjoyed that when we were able to get down there. But just the timing on the class had to fit SKC schedule. So there's a lot of things that have to come together to make it work, if that makes sense.
The number of AEDs in the district, that'll be good for students to be able to,
And where they're located,
yeah, how many?
I know there's
Each gym,
two for sure.
so I think there's one in the elementary gym too.
Is there?
So there should be 3. I was part of the 4 total. There's 4
Is
total.
there
I was
4?
part of the group that wrote the grant for those back in the senior project.
Nice.
Back, I think it was, one of the students wanted somebody to proofread it or something like that. I ended up submitting it all. And so the first set, and then we bought one for the new gym when it was
Yeah,
built. And then we have a traveling one as well, I believe. So
yeah. Yeah, so we'll make sure we know where all of that is. And we have really cool mannequins that light up, and it's neat. So I'm excited to teach the hands-on part of that because I think it's a valuable skill no matter what. I think it is. So they'll have their cards and everything through American Red Cross. Good job.
good job, girls.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you.
job. Good job. Thank you very much for listening.
All right.
all right.
You guys-
6.02,
You guys ready to
fund?
do spreadsheets? So this is a spreadsheet from the state. It's basically how we calculate what we went over last week, which is the general fund, okay? If you look at the bottom, I could keep going over, there's about 40 tabs. This will do almost everything. But what I'm gonna show you is how you can input a few things and it all automatically fills with the state information, so we can come up with a pretty decent number for what we can expect based on our enrollment numbers. And we'll use our fall enrollment numbers, so we'll just go through. We're gonna start on tab PAR. You can see up at the top, there's a little yellow cell right
We don't
there.
have this spreadsheet.
No, I can't upload a spreadsheet to Board Docs for you guys to really mess around with. So if you want, you can definitely have homework, but I'll go through and show you how to fill this in. If you look up there, it says if 0, then 24, if 1, then fiscal year 25, if 2, fiscal year 26. The reason why they have us fill this number in first is you look over on the far right, our inflationary numbers are right there. Last month, you remember we talked about the max being 3% that you could use or expect, at least they could ask for as inflationary numbers. This spreadsheet, the state is set up with the max 3%. So what I'm going to do is type in a 2 right there, and you're going to see this line, these numbers here in column H match up with this fiscal year 26 number. So basically it's building in those inflationary numbers as we move forward. These numbers over here are derived from our current A and B numbers. So I will pop that up for you really quick so you can see where those numbers came from. Okay, it's a little bit small, but you can see K through 6, the first number is 242. Okay, 7 and 8, which we know is how they separate our districts, is 89, and then the 9 through 12 number is 119. Total district number of 450. Okay, so I'm just going to write those down really quick so I can remember.
That's our fall count.
That is the fall count that just happened in October. 242, 89, 119. We're going to go back over to our Wrong one. I had a practice one up earlier, guys, sorry. Right here, we fill in that 242 number. Okay, we go down, we're gonna fill in 89, and we're gonna fill in 119. Okay, so now as we look at that, not a lot else we can add in here. So we'll go to the next page, which is called our inputs page, okay? The darker blue items are the numbers or the spots where we're gonna be filling in information, but you can see right now that number carried over to this line right here in F. You see 242 for the elementary, you see 89 for the middle school, and you see 119 for the high school, okay? And then the 3-year average, you can see next to it, they're not really calculating yet because we haven't called up our prior year's enrollments. We'll do that right now by typing in our LEA number. This is going to give us the numbers for enrollment for the last few years, all right? So 24, 25, and 26. So you can see in the elementary, we started at 279 in 24. We're down to 242 in 26. But we get to use the average of 263 for our 3-year average. So same with the middle school, 72. We're actually up to 89. The 2 classes in the middle school, the 7th and 8th grade, the 2 biggest classes in the district. So you'll see that number go up. Unfortunately, they add the elementary and the middle school together in their funding code. So we have to either use the 3-year average or the same year average. We can't separate those 2. And then the same thing with the high school. You see we started at 142. We went over down to 119. So our 3-year average is 133. In this tab right here, we have to come up with our taxable value. That is in this piece of information right here. We receive that up in, well, right where the cursor's at there, you can see 5,392,412. So I'm going to type that number in, 5392412, and we'll get a good idea how this is going to roll through our budget, at least preliminary budget for this upcoming year. 5392412. Okay, we enter that, and then as we go down, I want to point out one number here that's the fiscal year adopted 24 budget right there, 3,739,184. That was actually the 25 budget, so that's this year's budget, the budget that we're working on right now. If we utilize these numbers and go down, you can see in this line right here, base minimum budget, right under budget summary right there. The estimated number we have coming up for this year with a 3% increase is $3,754,125. That's a little bit under a $14,000 increase with the 3% inflationary. I think the tail of the tape is in the enrollment side of it. You guys can see where the numbers were 2 years ago and where they are now. That's what's driving that number to not increase with the inflationary amount that's built in there. As our numbers go down, the inflation is basically just holding steady at this point right now. So I will show you at the bottom here, you can see what the mills are for middle school or elementary and high school. 23 and 12 is a total of roughly 36 mills that the general budget would cost us for that amount that the local taxpayers have to pay. And then I'm just going to go into this one really quick and show you how those payments break down because we went over that last month. On the top left, you can see we have 340 kids total in the elementary. Go down to the high school, 133. So those are the numbers that we're playing with. I'm going to pop up here for a minute and just kind of point these out because it'll kind of show one of the things that why I kind of wanted to do this today.
I
don't know. Yeah, if you want to move over, Tom. We're going to stay in this one for a minute. So this is our entitlement right here. Okay. We talked about each
each level, elementary and middle school, getting an entitlement amount for each building, right? So you have a total of 182 going into elementary and middle school, total of about 364,000 going into the high school. Okay, if you scroll down, Tone, it's going to go. This is a really long.
I just pushed down one.
Yeah, I know, and it went probably clear to the bottom. Keep going. Right there. So here's your per A and B entitlement. So this is the number per kid. Elementary, about 1.7 million. Middle school, about 638,000. And then, yep, high school, about 1.1 million. So that number there is a little misleading, right? $3.98 million. That's not the number that we just talked about. It's because we can only fund 80% of the general budget for the base budget amount without a vote. You can ask for that extra 20% with a voted levy. We have never actually, in my lifetime, tried to do that. But there is the opportunity there if the board so chooses. If you go down to here, Tone, last month we talked about quality educator. There's a lot of information going on about what they're going to do with the quality educator payment right there. Right now we receive around $3,600 per teacher, plus we receive an extra amount for teachers in the first, second, or third year. We just submitted that report. It was due on 11/4. We submitted it on 11/5 because they wouldn't accept the report on 11/4. That's how OPI has been working lately. So that's just an example of what we run into. At-risk student component, that was another one of the components on our presentation that we had last month. $51,000. The $12,000 for Indian education for all, that by law needs to be paid towards certain items that are in that bill. There, I believe, fall in line with textbooks and those types of things for Indian education for all. And then your data for achievement and your Indian achievement gap component. So I will jump back up there, Tony. Those are the components. We're going to go back to the other slide because there's a lot on this one. And I just want to finish with showing you guys one thing that's in the works with what Superintendent Sargent proposed last month. So you can see, like Tony showed you, there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a number right here, highest budget with a vote. You can see it in column I there. It's roughly 4.651 million, meaning there's $897,000 out there you could ask your taxpayers for, but it's going to cost some levies. So that is for your consideration. And then this whole thing will, if you want to run, say, for an additional 100, 120, whatever, you can fill that in. You can show how many meals that's going to cost if that were somewhere you went down the road. We can also show, I'll just run over here real quick. It'll autofill what the impact is per house value, right? So we have 100,000, 300,000, and 600,000. You can show how much that each one of those things that you're going to attempt to pass is going to cost. But what I want to show you, if we go back up to here, an entitlement is, so we're going to stay right there. They got really fancy right here when they started trying to figure out how are we going to account for charter schools. And basically the instructions were, if you look at this chart, E1 is your original two, and then in E2 would be a separate elementary school considered a charter school. You type an X. You go down, you do the same thing for middle school. If you're going to run a middle school charter, you type an X, and you do the same thing for high school, you type an X. You go back over to this number here, and you see that the base budget amount went up to $4.91 million. That's a sizable difference than what we just talked about, the 3.75, basically the $15,000 increase over last year. Here's how that works out.
4.9 or 4.1?
4.19. So I'll show you. Here's how it works out. You can see an entitlement. We just talked about it. Last time we were up, we got 60,000 and 120,000 for elementary one. By running the charter school, you get an additional 60, an additional $120,000. Same with the high school, 364 for running high school one. By running the charter, you get an additional $365,000, bumping that general fund amount up. So I think that explains the charter school application, part of what the presentation last month was trying to address. This basically, in a nutshell, tells me that as every year we have enrollment that, stays below prior year enrollments, we're going to have numbers that are going to stay status quo with what the prior year budget was. So we unfortunately only see, based on the numbers for fall enrollment, $14,900 increase. They're using that, counting 470 kids total. That is the 3-year average. Our fall enrollment was 450. So that's kind of the tale of what's going on. When I looked at the numbers, a couple of things popped up in Infinite Campus. We've had 9 kids transfer since, and not in, but we've had 9 kids transfer out since fall count. Okay, so they counted on our fall enrollment, which works out for us, right? But if they're not in seats in the spring, then that number will.
It takes the average of both the fall and spring.
Correct. So that is the first initial guess at what that's going to be, assuming a few things, enrollment and a 3% increase.
And was the proposal for 3 charters or 2?
Yeah, you had 3, right?
Was it 3?
Yeah.
I thought it was 2.
All 3 buildings.
The one line taxable value, did that change a lot in the district from, say, a year ago, maybe off the top of your
So
head?
last year it didn't. So remember, 2 years ago, we did in our August budget consideration, I showed you what the taxable increase was on a nice little farmhouse out in the country with address that I know very well. We saw the increase jump huge 2 years ago. Last year, the increase wasn't
The
that much.
assessment. probably.
The assessment really played with that. And what it did was drive the mills down, right? But it didn't lower anybody's taxes. It actually increased them. The assessments, we added 0 more mills. In fact, we decreased our mills, but your taxes still went up because of the assessment.
I see the value of charters. I mean, just by playing the money game and making sure we have enough budget and funding in order to keep up with inflation and negotiations, I still just hold reserve of what the charter is going to require. I support putting in the application because it was a timely thing. We needed to put the application in. We still need to figure out what other additional responsibilities, costs, duties that charter will implement.
And this was just an exercise to show you how that decision that you guys made would potentially roll over financially, or if you stayed where you were at, how that was also playing out with the 3% increase. We at least have, or 3% inflationary increase. We at least have an idea of what those decisions are doing.
Have we ever done this? I mean, I know we trade students back and forth throughout the whole valley. Have we ever done some sort of analysis to actually see where most of our students go to and why?
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet that shows where all of our kids come from and where they go. I mean, in the valley, and it's all pretty even. It used to be one-sided towards Charlo, which is now flipped to, you probably get more there than we lose. The rest of them are all pretty even. As far as in and out, 119 in the high school is probably the scariest. Now that's the lowest we've been ever.
The 2 classes, freshman and senior class, are the 2 smallest classes in the district.
Do you anticipate the legislative session changing this formula to where these figures, or these are going to be, this is assuming everything stays the same, but
Correct. This
I'm
is
guessing it won't stay
a
the same,
snapshot of today.
right? Is that what you're guessing?
There's gonna be a big push for restructuring of the funding. Which will move it from A and B to teachers,
Quality educator.
quality educator, shift. So we're all pushing obviously for that and would be definitely in support of that, but who knows
But yeah,
what's gonna happen, and sometimes they will make things look like an increase, and then on the back end, a whole lot of decrease, where it ends up, it's really a moving marble sometimes with the, like, okay, we're gonna give you an increase here, and but if the structure itself changes from the A and B count to a more of a quality educator count, that's the big push, which we've heard anywhere from 10 to 15% possibly, depending on where you live. 15% was optimistic in the perfect world. If they can get that through the funding formula that they're pushing, that would be awesome. But will it happen? We don't know.
We have no idea.
Could be nothing. Could be worse. You never know.
How does that quality educator program work? I mean, how many teachers on the district are eligible?
So we have to go into Infinite Campus and we have to tag each teacher that has, how does it work, like qualified teaching certificate. Okay, runs through their, it's a state identification number.
Highly qualified.
And then each of those are then tagged in Infinite Campus, roll from there into the other system, the Mayfair system. That's where they establish that number, which I believe we're at right around 44, I think, teachers. I think with that are under quality educators. And they've added a few, like sometimes superintendent, or at least I know superintendent and clerk are going to be on the legislation for that's going forward. But I believe right now we have 44. Multiply that by $3,600, and that's the number that they're trying to figure out whether they're going to bounce up or not. And then anybody in their first, second, or third year, I then have to go on and do another report that shows that they're in their first, second, or third year of teaching, not at our district, but overall teaching, and the state obviously tracks that. So file that report, and then we get an additional quality educator payment on top of that. But you saw it was $200,000 versus the A&B number, which was quite a bit more.
Isn't that quality educator program based on a particular base salary?
Yes, it is.
And
You have to have 10%. The quality educator payment is 10% of the base salary if your base salary meets that threshold.
And that
So that
threshold is-
$3,600 is roughly $36,000 at the base salary. And I think
It's
the big
gone up
push,
now,
yeah.
what, 40.
42.
Well, they're proposing that it's going to go up to, or they would like it to go up for legislators to be able to not have the 49th ranked state in the
Yeah,
nation.
his 42 was a rough figure. Then.
Yeah, that's, I think at MSL, that was the number that was being thrown around, right? If you went to-
Yeah.
Yeah.
The and just out of curiosity, I can't remember, and I looked at this the Board of Education site. When do we expect the application to be approved from the Board of Education?
We have to, I'll get into that in just a minute.
Okay, any other questions on spreadsheets? We'll keep working on this throughout the year.
Oh, I did have one more.
Yeah.
Why do you, if you're a charter school, why do you put an X there and not a number of
Good
kids?
question. That was how they figured out how to, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter the number of kids, right? You have to have minimums of 70 in the
70.
elementary, 20 in the middle school, and 40 in the high school for those funds to be, I don't want to say kept, but to be
Get the basic
Yeah.
entitlement.
to get the basic entitlement. But the guy, Paul Taylor, who creates the spreadsheet, got thrown this in the middle of the spreadsheet cycle. So it's a 3-year spreadsheet cycle. So he created a formula that where you type in X to be able to figure that out. And that was the easiest way for all of us to go ahead and find it.
That'll probably change though, right? At some point you would.
I believe that, I mean, we're still in the last year of what the funding is going to be. So going into 25, 26, I can't see much changing, but we would look at 26, 27. Then you're going to see whatever they come up with this session.
I assume that 70, 20, and 40 are certain percent threshold of current students within those.
Those are student numbers, right? So if you have to have
it can't be 70 students that take one class,
Right.
right? It has to be 70 students that are full-time.
In the charter. Yeah, that's what I mean. So I mean, that 70 number comes from whatever we have in our, I'm not sure which was, what, 242? Or-
Yeah.
So that's a certain percentage of that.
Yeah.
That population.
And then 20 at the
It
middle school, 40 at the high
really
school.
wasn't a percent, it was just, that's the flat number of minimum you have to hit to even apply. So we didn't base it, ours, I believe, will be higher than that.
And if you applied for like we did 3, that wouldn't like triple, like,
No, it just,
No, just say-
we just say 3 because it's just, there's one charter in the elementary, one charter in the middle school, one charter in the high school. So we just get double basic entitlement for each school. Halfway through, roughly. Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions or follow-up?
What is your timeline then here? What are you doing next?
Tomorrow I want to come in late because it's a board meeting night. Next is impact data application. Currently, I'm looking probably 9 to 10 kids down from last year. Hasn't gone through the tribe's approval yet. I always get a percentage, 9 to 10% knocked off of that number because we always throw as many addresses out there. 15th year doing it, so I have a pretty good idea what the addresses are. The problem is some of them come out of trust. And so when that happens, then they're no longer able to be accounted for. So I can say pretty confidently that number is going to go down as well because we have less enrollment. We're also going to have less people staying on trust land. That application, I told Mr. Sargent, I'm going to push in before the end of the year. It's due the 31st. I would like to get it submitted before we roll over new departments of education and all that kind of stuff, and at least just get it there. So I'm going to rush that one through.
And then it's kind of just sit and wait and see what happens.
And then February, end of January, beginning of February are my quietest times of the year. Come February 2nd, we'll have count dates, and then we'll roll from there. So
We're doing any outreach for the impact data and ensuring people are doing paperwork?
we've tried paper day in the past. Basically, this year's biggest push was to get correct addresses. If you can give me a correct address, we can go to Montana Cadastral. We can find out pretty confidently whether it's trust land or not, and then take it up to the tribe. And then it's not really a negotiation. It's more I kind of fight back and forth whether or not I think that one should or should not be, counted based on updated information. So that's the push there. There's two forms. You have a sample survey you can send out to each family. We've seen the 1 year that we did do a survey, we did not get a lot of them back. Or you can compile what's called a source check form. Source check form gives addresses, geocodes, all that. I send that up to the tribe and then they sign off on them. All right, moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Huckle.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna give this back to Mr. Sargent.
We'll jump into the charter correspondence.
Yeah, all right. Yep.
Okay, so the small screen's really tough. I'm not gonna lie.
Move back a little bit. It should be.
Yeah. Well, the problem moving back is it's
Right.
where
So,
that's-
no, we got
Um,
run from there.
so, yeah, it's a lot. Okay, whatever. Let's roll.
Well, I can move it back so you can get that part right there. Is that
Yeah,
work
that's
for
the
you?
part. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So, as part of as a question, for our presentation, December 11th at 8:45, we will have 15 minutes, basically a 30-minute applicant window, 10 minutes of introduction and explanation of our charter plan, our executive summary and application. We'll have 15 minutes for the board to ask us questions and 5 minutes of public comment. So 30 minutes of interview with the Board of Public Education. on December 11th. So that'll be somewhat of the final. And I emailed all of you the application, so you have everything that was given to the Board of Ed. If you want to look over the executive summary, that's basically the one-page explanation of what our plan is. And they won't allow people, there's going to be it'll be a Zoom meeting, so they won't allow people to Zoom in. But if, public or community, board, if you have questions, concerns, public comment, there's an address here that we put out on our website. We put it out on Facebook, on ThrillShare. We're going to push it out in rooms to our parents. We presented it here tonight to get the word out as to what our plan is. And if there's any concerns, it needs to be submitted to that email address of bpe.mt.gov. And on December 11th, I will interview with the Board of Ed. And after that, I would guess sometime in later December, we will have a decision on whether or not we're granted our submission. So I tried to find out from BA yesterday how many schools have applied. She was not aware of that count as of yet. I have not heard that number. I'm very curious how many applications the Board of Ed is going to have, but I guess we'll know on December 11th. So a lot of answers in a pretty important 30 minutes on that day. So that's just a notice that we wanted to make sure we made public, documented, and like I said, it's on our website and out on ThrillShare as a public announcement and public input.
So it starts at 8:45, but admission's up at 1? Is that what that?
Yes. So I'm sure they'll have 30-minute blocks throughout the day with executive summaries and opportunities for us to explain and ask questions of the Board of Ed. I met one of the representatives down in Missoula during the MCEL. I got a visit with her. She said, I heard you were applying, glad to see your application. Seemed very optimistic, and I'm interested to see how it went in Corvallis. They were going to Corvallis to review their program the next day. So I'll talk to Pete Joseph at Corvallis, see how their review went after 1 year. They're running it this year. What we would be running next year, very similar. So I'm curious to see how the review went prior to us interviewing in case we need to,
Yeah, I'm definitely
speak
interested in seeing their reviews, because we modeled a lot of our application after theirs, right?
So he's saying I'm high praises in the meeting. She said, you're just kissing up because we're coming to visit your school tomorrow. He said, yes, I am.
Looks like there's 11 schools that have applied. 2024 applications, that's 11 schools.
11 additional schools from last year. 19 or last year.
Yeah, no, it's putting down 2024 applications, and it looks like we're on there. Yeah, it looks like 10 other schools besides us. But
I'm really surprised. I thought there would be
I
more.
thought there would be two.
Uh,
Only Ronan has one, and that's the only
This town should have one.
Libby will have one. Ronan will have one. Lewistown will have one. I visited with a lot of superintendents. Just
The upgrade was on the news. I didn't know if that was a previous accepted one or one that's just going for it.
I'm sure they might have done it last year. I don't know. I expected more than 11, honestly. I expected 100.
Boy, yeah.
I don't know why
That's
you
good.
wouldn't.
30 minutes sounds like a really short little window to make your case. Do we have any anticipation of what questions they're gonna ask? Or just
They're going to ask us to go through our executive summary. Basically, they're going to want us to sum up briefly what our proposal is.
When did you say the review of Corvallis is?
It was it was right after MCEL.
Okay, so they, and
So in the last 2 weeks ago.
get a copy of that?
Well, I'm gonna be able to call Pete and say, hey, how'd it go? You know,
Okay.
he'll be able to tell me.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
it says, oh, not good, then let's get creative on our executive summary.
I was gone all last week, so I haven't had a chance to catch up with him, but I'll catch up with him this week and see, how it went, so. And they're actually, they're running the double. They actually have like, what was it? So they have 8 different schools right now. So they're running 3 in 2 of their buildings and 2. So they're actually, they're running multiple charter schools in their district.
Yeah, it just wasn't my house.
And their enrollment was really, I mean, they lost a lot.
Unless each charter
That's all,
schools-
yeah.
Unless each charter school is focusing on certain subjects or certain.
Well, they had so many for their Harmony, that was one. So their Harmony was well over 200 students that they gathered. So they picked up a charter in each building for that, which we wouldn't have enough. We only had 20, so we wouldn't qualify for the numbers for just that. But yeah, so they're able to, they've actually, they're probably the biggest hustler right now in terms of making charter moves.
Seems like, telling when I was at the presentation, I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I thought he said if we did it again, we'd probably not have it. Some nuggets of it.
And it's a 3-year? 5 years.
I think they were the first to really dip their feet into the
Yeah.
pool, so. Which is good, let them work some bums out.
Yeah, very good. Anything else on 7.01 charter schools?
Nope.
All right. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Looking on to board preparation and planning.
Just updates that we've made, not a whole lot of additions, just things that we've done, charter application, etc. But those are just the updates for the month of November.
Move on to new business, IPP and tribal ed.
So we need to recommend the approval of our IPP. This is our Indian policies and procedures. It's board policy that has to be updated and approved each year, along with our tribal education and tribal council report, which we've included. It's not entirely complete. We have some additional data to add. Once we get that in this week, we'll be applying for a place at tribal, a placement for tribal council to get us on their agenda. It takes about 2 weeks once we get this done and submitted. So we'll be getting on the agenda for tribal council, which is, it'll also go with tribal ed, tribal council, and our IPP, all imperative to Title VI and impact data. All things we have to do to get those applications done.
No significant changes in procedures this year, right?
No.
Ms. McClure is our Indian Education Director.
Yes. And she's just finishing up some of the data. That's what we're waiting to finish up on this week, and we'll get that completed and submitted.
We're entertaining a motion for action. Approve.
We'll make a motion to approve the IPP new board policy.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions?
There are a couple of I'm guessing they're typographical things that I would probably go through.
I would accept that and make those changes because it is board policy, so we would just be looking at.
Yeah, send me
yeah.
things you see, we can just.
This
we
does
have to-
go with the impact data application, so that's why it needs to be approved. But Yeah, anything
Good
that's edited, would love a red copy like the old days.
Yeah, okay,
So, Marchand can provide that.
absolutely. There was a- let's see, where's the last one? No, there was a- let me- Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because we have to, board chair has to sign it anyway before we can attach it to impact date, so that'd be perfect timing.
So there's a motion and a second, with the future recommendations of some grammatical errors and fixes from Mr. Marchand. All those in favor?
Okay.
All right. Employment?
Recommend Kristen Huckaluck for our adult education coordinator. Previously, Chris Eichert did this, and so we opened it up and awarded that to Miss Huckaluck, or not, recommendation to the board for Miss Huckaluck.
I make the motion to recommend hiring Christian Huckrow as the adult ed coordinator.
Second.
First and second, any questions?
They're up and running right now. Is that-
Advertising, yeah,
Okay.
trying to get it going. I think there's some workout classes and it's become a lot more of a job for me than I expected. But, yeah, with your approval, I'll have more work too.
That'll get you into it.
Right. All right. All those in favor? 10:03.
Recommending hiring Stacy Dahl for academic bowl. This is just a stipend for coordinating and running academic bowl for the middle school.
Which she's been doing for years.
Yes.
I'll make the motion to recommend hiring Stacy Dahl for that.
I'll second that.
No, Mr. Marchand. Got the quick draw there.
Questions? All those in favor? 10:04.
Recommend hiring Kitten Shellman as Missoula Children's Theater Coordinator. Also a stipend amount for coordinating and running the Missoula Children's Theater.
I'll make the motion to recommend hiring Kate Michelman for the SCT coordinator.
I'll second that.
Questions, comments?
And that's about to take off, is that what I'm?
Yeah, it's in full swing, kind of. It comes in 2 weeks, so we're just doing the organizing right now. But also, we have, I've reached out to all the neighborhood businesses, and we have a bunch of donations coming in, as well as just applied for a $500 grant. So hopefully that comes in to help offset some of the costs.
Ms. Shellman, is this separate from another MCT thing going on? I thought it saw somewhere, there were workshops or something?
Oh, yeah, so something that I found out that we haven't taken advantage of in the past is that when we pay as a district to have NCP come, they actually, that cost includes some daytime workshops. So we're going to be offering, I sent out kind of an email asking teachers who's interested, so we're gonna be offering two to the different elementary classes, and it'll combine a bunch of classes. So two at the elementary level, one for interested students at middle school level, and one for interested students at the high school level.
Separate from the play that they do?
Yep, so this happens during the school day as a drama opportunity for our students.
Cool. Excellent.
Thank you. Any others? All those in favor? 10:05, softball.
Recommending Jesse Nesper for head softball coach as per AD recommendation.
I make the motion to recommend hiring Jesse Nesper for the head softball coach as per the AD recommendation.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Welcome aboard, Mr. Mister.
Finger guns.
10:06.
I recommend Amy Dillard for head cheer as per AD recommendation.
Was she head cheer last year?
She was co-head last year.
I make a motion to recommend hiring Amy Dillard for the head cheer as per the AD recommendation.
I'll second that.
Questions? Comments?
So there won't be two, is that one, just be it?
Is she otherwise employed here?
No.
Scary.
All those in favor? 10:07. Coaching hires.
10:07, these are the rest of the coaches. Oh, actually, no, this, yes. So this is recommendation for the hiring of the following coaches. There's actually the Lucas Lorenz, you can, boys basketball, I will. And then middle school, girls basketball. But here's the list. Tim Krantz, middle school boys basketball. Al Morgio, middle school boys basketball. Lucas Lorenz, middle school girls basketball. And there'll be an action item next for third coach for middle school boys basketball. Lyle Cronk, middle school wrestling. Wacy McClure, high school boys basketball assistant. Shelby Shrouds, softball assistant. Kamimi Ashley, high school tennis assistant. Jody Delaney, middle school tennis. Jen Brander, middle school track. Richard Martin, middle school track. Logan Torgerson, wrestling volunteer. Tony Inkashola, high school basketball volunteer. Adam Huckaluck, high school basketball volunteer.
You can cover all of those with 39,000.
That is,
About
yeah,
13 coaches, right?
well, Tony and I and Logan are zero sum, so,
And middle school is 12, 13.
yeah, that is each person's contracted amount built into a spreadsheet.
That's probably high.
It's in low, actually, I thought.
Yeah, because I took two out of there and separated them into their own
In the
head coaches. I was gone Friday.
Yeah.
The executive content had one more name as a volunteer, which was surprising.
Executive content, do you not have that? Oh, that, wow.
Well, so I wasn't here Friday, so I guess please add Janelle Azure as a volunteer.
Brent just walked out during his part.
So got one more volunteer.
You have to log in.
I am there.
What sport or activity?
No, go down.
Girls basketball.
So we're missing one out of the list. Is Janelle Azure, middle school volunteer?
Yeah, she should be on there, she's not on there.
Oh, all the way.
Executive she is, but not in the motion. So
We just have to add her.
yes, please.
I'll make the motion to recommend to hire the coaches from the list provided, including Janelle Asher for middle school girls. List coming from the activities director.
I'll second it.
Questions, comments?
High school basketball, boys or girls designated, or both?
For me, you asking personally?
Both the ones that are
I'm gonna
designated.
be whichever coach asks me. But I just, my main thing is I don't wanna sit on the sidelines anymore and I don't wanna have to go to Troy, so. If they want me to do it, I would come in and help. I would help, whatever they want.
Okay, resignation, remorse, or maybe you'd rather, why Why'd you pay for something I can do for free? No,
Well, yeah, exactly.
no, but I realized it would be more flexible.
Yeah, for personal things.
Yeah, so boys or girls.
Boys or girls, it doesn't matter. I'd probably be more helping what I had currently started. But in the past, I talked with Dalton about if he needs somebody to run with the girls and give him scout look and stuff like that, and I would be available. So.
For myself, I've been asked by both coaches. And Huck has been asked by both coaches to assist someone. That's why it just says high school. Okay, anything else? All those in favor? And all abstain. Sounds good. Everyone votes. All right, 10.08 to catch up the additional.
So, given the numbers, we're recommending hiring a third coach, Lucas Lawrence, for middle school basketball for one season only, as per AD request. Middle school numbers currently at 33. In the high school, an additional coach is 28. We don't have a set number for middle school, nor do we want to set a precedent for a third coach, but with 33, 34, 3 teams, supervision, we are recommending and supporting from the administration to hire a third coach to keep an eye on the 3 teams in the middle school.
I make the motion to recommend hiring a third basketball coach, Lucas Lawrence, for middle school. Does it need to be middle school boys basketball?
Yes.
Yes, middle school boys basketball for this season only, as per the AD request.
There is some carryover from girls to boys. There's some overlap, but there's different times for practices. So it'll be a busy last week or 2. But Coach Rice always did it, so I'm sure Mr. Lawrence can give it a go.
Second,
Wilson.
any comments, questions?
A third schedule, or are they gonna get games for are they dividing into still 2 teams, but just a third coach? Is that a true statement?
Talking about boys versus girls?
Middle school boys schedule.
Oh, yeah, no, it's still the same, they're still on the same schedule, it's just 3 teams.
So they'll just be 2 big teams, but 3 coaches handling 2
It
big
just depends
teams.
on what the other schools have to offer. Some schools only have 2 teams, so then they combine the B and C teams for game purposes. But as far as practice goes, they're separated into A, B, and C teams.
Are there any schools that have 3 teams?
Ronan, Thompson Falls did, but I think just recently they dropped down to.
So it could be, depends on it.
Yep.
All those in favor? $10.09 sports co-op.
So this was one giant mess, to be entirely honest. Last year, dues weren't paid. We found 2 years ago, dues weren't paid. So we tasked the new athletic director, Mr. Hall, to come up with trying to get money that was owed from last year. I knew we couldn't go back 2 or 3 years for the few that were missed, but to try to streamline this, Mr. Hall has developed for approval, an all-inclusive agreement with Arlie and Charlo that includes all sports in one agreement with the amounts, instead of having multiple contracts out there for every sport, multiple years. These are 3-year agreements with MHSA, and they were annually renewed with each school, so we can follow up with getting the funds, the accurate funds, a little more organized to be able to read and assure that at the end of each season, each school gets invoiced and money is accounted for what is owed. So a start from scratch proposal, and it is attached. Hopefully everybody had a chance to read through that, but we're recommending action to approve the sports cooperative agreement, which I see did not get added as an action item, but let me just
type
It is.
action.
yeah, I will. Just a second. I'm just annoyed that I didn't have. So going through this, here we go. All right. Action for co-op agreement. All right. So
Has this been discussed and negotiated and vetted with the other ADs or districts?
we want to get it approved here, and then we're going to be taking it to every district for their approval.
I have discussed it with Jake Bosley, with Arlie, and Lori O'Neill with Charlotte, just letting them know that it's gone down the pipe or whatever, so.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's an AD communication of saying, here's what we all agree upon. I'm gonna put it in writing. And have they had a chance to look at it? As I'd rather have a pretty good solid plan moving forward and us approve it as opposed to us approving our idea and then bringing it to them and their ideas be like, whoa, this isn't what we think.
We're the host.
Mhm.
So we felt like it needs to start with us. We're the ones that they need to. So we want to make sure that they either agree to our proposal and the cost or they don't. And it's to those that, if it's not going to get paid and if they don't want to agree to the agreement, then it doesn't really, you know what I mean?
Well,
We
I
need to
understand
propose
that.
to them. Yeah, they're either going to sign it and get on board with it. But what happened last year, not getting paid for 3 sports is
They stick this?
ridiculous. They stiffed us, yeah. Well, actually, they didn't stiff us. We were unorganized and we didn't bill and we didn't follow up. And
Put a late penalty clause in.
so, yeah, it's really rude of us. I mean, we're asking them to go back a year out of last year's budget and pay for something that we dropped the ball. So it's really, if they wanted to say, forget it, but we want to get this organized so that now they either agree to this, we sign off on one agreement for all sports, they're in, they're out. If they want to scratch a sport, we didn't even approve cross country for the last 2 years. So that's how far out of whack this was. So
I understand.
it needed to get organized. We had, I mean, it needed to get cleaned up. So this will enable us with one sheet to be able to see exactly what we're agreeing to. And to be honest, it was a complete mess.
I can clarify a couple of things for you though, if you like. It basically, all the monetary things haven't changed to what was previously agreed upon. The only thing that really changed with the language was, when we do the count or how we do the count for participants in the sport. Previously, it had said that it was done like the Monday before the last week of the season. I changed it to just say that it's basically going to be prorated. So if they go through half of the year or 3/4 of the year, and then they drop out for whatever reason, that amount for that individual participant or multiple participants will be prorated, as opposed to just them being able to go all the way through the season and then they drop out the day before we do the count, and then so that's kind of language that's changing there. And then just to clarify too, that MHSA, it used to be a 3-year agreement for co-ops, but they've changed that. Now it's, once they approve it, it goes to dissolution. So that's one reason why I wanted to change it and do an annual thing. Put it all in one agreement, and we'll go over it every year, review it every year, and sign it every year with changes in board members or monetary amounts or whatever the case might be. but just start from square one and then go every year after that. Because once we already have the approvals for softball, baseball, wrestling. The only thing we have to get the approval on during MHSA is the cross country. And then once we get the approval from MHSA, that is good until we or the other schools decide to dissolve the co-op.
So there's really no changes from a year ago, was it what schools?
The
what
schools are
sports?
the schools are the same, the sports are the same, we just added cross country in there because it went through the board process, but it never went through MHSA approval. And then, like I said, just the changing in the language of when we do the count is what the count is starting through the year. And then if a participant or participants have to drop out for injury or other reason, then that monetary amount or whatever is just going to be on a prorated basis as opposed to.
Yeah, to eliminate just the accounting headache, I just charge them that amount, what they start, and then that's what you got going. If uniforms might be an issue there, then you already bought the uniforms and that, but I don't know how anybody else feels, but that's not going to be a huge dollar amount. And I would think that the schools would be willing to, if we got this many, maybe you want to do it 2 weeks into the season or something, but just a one time, that's going to be a little headache prorating. And he quit. Did he quit? Did he come back? I don't know. But you can visit with the other ADs on that too if they'd rather.
Try it this way for you. I said it's a year.
It's an annual thing, and yeah, the ADs know that this is coming down the pipe. They just haven't read exactly what it is yet. I just wanted to get our board's approval first, since we are the host school, and then we can move forward with their ADs and their board. Changes have to be made, they have to be made, but I think it's pretty solid agreement. And as far as like prorating numbers, I mean, in all fairness, I don't want them to have, because there is a dollar amount between 1 to 5 participants, and then 6 to 10 it jumps up. So I wouldn't want to have them pay for 6 to 10 participants, and then one of their kids has a catastrophic injury or something like that, and then they can't participate.
Injury maybe, but not quitting. That kind of my.
No, it's in the agreement. It talks about injury or other reasons. But I'm just saying that it's not really going to be that much of a headache for me to prorate the.
And it's really a great deal for them. I mean, it's a very low amount for what it really costs to run these sports.
My impression was that it was a pretty generous situation for
I
them.
would say very,
Yeah.
very generous.
Why, and I should know this, but I don't, why is wrestling twice what other sports?
It's based on my understanding, it's based on the cost. Wrestling does.
More expensive than
So
soccer.
overnight trips.
Wrestling doesn't bring as much money in, and it's the majority of our meets and stuff. It's all travel based. It's travel expenses and whatnot.
It's more than softball.
Softball and wrestling are the two most expensive sports.
But softball is just $1,000 to buy.
Jason Sargent negotiated wrestling. Somebody else negotiated
Yeah.
softball. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I just
softball next time. That's it.
I don't know why the others went down, to be honest. Over the years, I don't know why the other sports dropped from 2 to 1. I don't know why that happened. We started this with wrestling, and that was the original amount, and I don't know why when other sports were added, it wasn't the same amount. But for whatever reason, that's what it was, and that's what it's been. So I don't know. And I was here for all, and I don't know why the others were negotiated lower than that. I don't know that.
Yeah, these numbers are. This is my first year, so I'm just going on the numbers that were from past contracts.
Yeah.
And obviously, going on an annual basis, it's all up for renegotiation after a year. So if we find that we're out substantial monetary amounts for the other sports, and we need to adjust those numbers, and we can do that in the following years.
Do we have a motion on this?
No, we're not, we're just discussed.
So action is to approve the co-op agreement that we can share with other districts for all co-ops.
I'd move to approve the St. Ignatius District 28 Sports Cooperative Agreement.
I'll second that.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Stan.
Oh, I was just gonna,
You had your mouth open.
I didn't.
I just like to keep things simple and just once they pay that fee at the beginning, they're committed and you don't have to worry about any refunds or prorating. Just making it
Numbers
easy.
after 2 weeks.
Yeah,
They've started it. So let's just do the count. 2 weeks. Let's just change it. Is everybody okay with 2 weeks?
I'm
End of
fine
the
if they
season.
prorated, because like Tony said, try it for a year, and then if it does create too much of a headache for Mr. Hall, then we can switch it to how Stan wants to do it. But
I'm fine with
whatever,
that
I'm
too. I'm
fine with
that.
either
Run
way.
it and we'll have the same discussion next November.
It
The
might be an
important thing,
AD
the
just
important
says-
thing is that we bill them and get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
They've
and
been billed.
they don't drop the day before we count. Right? I mean, that's,
Right, like it was before, it was almost the last week of the season. I don't know where that language came from, but that's why I wanted to change it to make it more just.
I understand the prorating, and I understand the 2 weeks, and we've seen how that could miss kid
Could
either
miss
way
it, yeah.
too. I mean, kid starts late. I would just say if they participated in over 50% of the season, they're charged. But that's, I mean, like, I agree to this, and like I said before, try it out. If it works out great this way, then good. We don't need to change anything next year. But
We've got the phantom of a vote going. We were just waiting to see if there was one more hand that was gonna go up with it. Okay. All in favor?
Yep.
all right, where are we at? Channel 1010.
10-10.
So this is just information. So the MOU currently does not have an application for sabbatical leave. We could not find an application anywhere in our records, so we just wanted to let the board, this is just information that we'd like to present, the sabbatical leave application to the SIF union for its membership to look over and approve. If approved, we'll bring it back in December and take a look at the sabbatical application as presented to SIF, if approved. So just to give you an idea, if there's something we need to clean up between now and then, we'll take a look at that next month. But we wanted to have some sort of leave application. We haven't had this in probably 25 years, so we wanted to have a consistent application to give to interested folks in sabbaticals.
Modeled after another districts and by B.
No, we just found one that we felt, we searched other schools and found one that we basically searched. I don't know if it was AI or another district that had one that we.
But you will run it by B.
It's really just an application
Oh, yeah.
for me. Yeah.
And the
It's just-
details we worked out. So.
Yeah. Anybody that, anything that dealing with the MOU coming up, we definitely will run it by her, but this is just so we have a consistent application.
To get turned in.
Yeah.
What?
will this become an appendix to the collective bargaining agreement?
No. It would just, we couldn't find anywhere, anything where, what the application would be. So if approved by them, if approved by the board, that'll be the form that we use. Just like for sick leave or any other form, it's really not an appendix, it's just something consistent that SIF feels comfortable with and the board feels comfortable with.
Do you remember the last sabbatical we had?
It's
Probably
been
Valerie. It was Valerie.
Who was it?
We think it was Valerie. Valerie Embry.
25 years ago.
Or artist, Arliss.
Well, I think,
Sarah Reeve and maybe
Glenn Blake.
Glenn Blake. Now I'm throwing out old names.
Just the last one, I think, sure. Yeah, that's been pretty. Just out of curiosity, Miss Costello was in case of that.
No. She resigned and went back to school and went to another school, and then we got her back.
Okay.
And then
And she left again.
we should have.
And, so when would this be presented to the SIFT committee?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Because we need it approved in December, is that correct? We're gonna have one in the next.
The application, yeah.
Entertain motion.
That's just it.
That informational, no. This one is an information. I added this one. I screwed that up. So this one will take, I'll present it. Okay. This is the Gear Up MOU. Shannon, please feel free to drop in for any of this. Shannon's done a bunch of work on what Gear Up will look like.
So this
going
is not
forward.
information.
So this is an action item. This one on Friday was dropped in an email to us that it needed to be approved before X date. I can't remember what the date was. And then we had to turn in board minutes for with approval.
So
So
no longer accept anything on Fridays, especially when I'm not here.
It's
So-
been, the Gear Up process has just been a little bit crazy with there being no Gear Up. And then, okay, we have a pretty good Band-Aid for your seniors. Oh, wait, your Band-Aid's due tomorrow. Just kidding. We are doing a fully federal funded program. And we're gonna need documents, but we don't have documents to tell you which documents for either of those, Band-Aids or the big one. So yeah, Friday was last week, end of the week was like, oh, okay, you need minutes with the board ratifying what's been signed and trying to find it. I didn't have a copy of it, so.
correct and agreed. The last 2 hours on Friday were not a fun time to try to put the board packet together. So this MOU has been signed by Mr. Sargent. It's been signed by everybody at the state. We got it from the head fiscal agent for Gear Up. There is a small section at the very bottom that says that this needs to be ratified by a board of trustees of the school district, and the clerk must provide certification of ratification within 60 days of this date, and it's dated 10/31. So you can see why it needed to get into this board meeting. So all of this takes is an agreement for the MOU that's in place to be ratified, and we can move forward with funding.
So go through that real quick again. Are they,
We're good to go.
they're gonna fully fund
So they are,
now?
yeah, we have an award letter for a fully funded program, based on what the state applied for to the federal government. And then this MOU says, yes, we're gonna do the parts that we're supposed to do, and they're gonna do the parts they're supposed to do, for the next 7 years. With the, as far as my understanding of the award letter is that it's an award letter just for this year. And I have in an email that it should be pretty consistent unless crazy things happen. And we'll see what happens in the next 6 months in the world of legislatures and fundings. And then the end of this week is when the state Gear Up team, that's currently 1.5 person, but then hiring back up to a 6-person team, we'll start looking at the budget that we're putting together and requesting, and the implementation plan of the budget. So
So the dollar amount basically will run for $90,000 roughly from the beginning of November of this year to the end of October next year. And we're looking to try to piece things together for the remainder of this semester, hire a half-time Gear Up coordinator for second semester, and probably the same idea running into next year, half-time Gear Up, halftime teacher or other.
Yeah, kind of got to see how it works out with whomever's hired. Just all the dominoes related to a fresh start with the whole grant cycle, a liaison,
And it'll
the
be,
different to-dos, the different goals, all that
I
stuff.
believe it's Jeff Evans and Mr. Marchand. So Mr. Evans, Mr. Marchand, one of you will be asked for the vacancy RIF. I think we'll advertise it. We have 3 teachers interested in that position, so we'll contact you. There's 3 teachers. One, either Mr. Evans or Mr. Marchand, and either Sean or I on the vacancy RIF committee for halftime gear up for second semester, which won't start until
January.
When do you anticipate seeing the first money coming in?
So Gear Up's a reimbursement. You spend the money, you fill out all the reporting, and then you hope that they pay it all back. That's why the budgeting process is so important. Shannon's been working immensely extra hours on trying to get that all in place. They asked for that quarterly. So if it starts in January, we probably won't get our first money until March. We should get money for I want to call it overdraft. I'm not even sure what it's called.
Yeah, the Band-Aid, it was,
the Band-Aid-
originally it was the no-cost extension.
No cost extension. There you go. They've got 1.5 people working there. Shannon requires a few things from me. Once I get that to them, we should see payment for October. And after that, then we'll know a lot more how it's going to run. I'm assuming it's going to run financially a lot like the last one did. They just have to. We have a lot of levers in place and no people yet. So
Yeah, and they anticipate the same guru of finance coming back to her job too. So it's just sort of waiting on, we didn't have any paperwork for a new cycle because there wasn't a new cycle, or the people, okay, who wants back, who doesn't want back, how quick can you come back? How quick can we make a new manual with adjusted everything's?
What do you think where I came up with this, the sub-grant was 20,500?
that's correct. There's no cost extension.
That's the no cost.
That was basically October's.
It was
expenditures,
October
right?
and it was limited to only personnel costs
And travel.
to help with things only for seniors. And it had to happen only in these dates.
And the amount of time that we had, we definitely didn't have enough time to spend $20,000.
No, yeah.
It's basically like, here's your amount, see what you can fit into these.
And
Parameters.
especially knowing it just had to be seniors. So there were
Yeah.
other career and things that would fit up in the Gear Up world had it not been specified only for that Band-Aid class with seniors to finish them out.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of pivoting, but good.
And you said this is an action item.
This is an action item. We do need to ratify this, and then we'll send this with board minutes. I'll probably forward them to you.
Sounds
I'll let
good.
you have the,
I'll add it to the binder, the printouts, the whatever's happening. Box for future.
So recommend Gear Up MOU attached.
I'll make the motion to recommend the Gear Up MOU that's attached.
That's it.
First and second, any more questions? All right, all those in favor?
And also, Mr. Hooklock Adam's been great too when I've been like, I don't know what this is. Do you know? No, I don't know. Never heard. Okay. Trying to figure it out. It's been
we
good.
ran,
Both of us saying, I don't know that you don't know that I don't know what
we
that is.
half sprinted into each other's rooms on Friday, like, what do we need to do? Where do we get this from? Let's get this on. And like,
So you have to submit an application.
So no, we're part of the state application to the feds already. So when the federal level changed their minds or decided to fund Montana, we were already in the role.
sweat it out for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the no cost extension Band-Aid was due the 18th of October, and I think it was the 17th. They said, okay, wait, we'll have money. Hang tight. So, but yeah, Adam's been great too, trying to figure out what even some of the verbiage is when they want something. So
It's back.
Get a hold of that 1.5 person, so.
Right.
Yeah, I was like, I've emailed, it might be 2
It
days.
doesn't work on Fridays.
They're not
either.
really
It's
there.
very helpful. So,
Okay, next is 10-12, job descriptions.
So we're recommending the approval of following job descriptions. We've been trying to get these caught up as positions open and as we have time to work on these, but so far, these will go into board policy as the descriptions that we have done so far. So asking for approval of the following job descriptions, and we'll keep adding as we get those done.
Are these job descriptions we've had before, we're just updating them?
They've never
We've never had them. before.
had them, yes.
I'll be honest, when I got here, all the job descriptions were on physical paper and they were in file in Neil's office and kind of dissipated since then. So this is an update of probably what was once physical form.
Right.
I recommend the approval of the following job descriptions that will continue to be added to these positions.
I'll second
First and second, any questions?
that. Where did these appear? Where would somebody, if they wanted to see what the job description for a custodian was?
They will eventually be on our website. These are the first ones that we've actually approved, so they're nowhere right now other
Right.
than in our file.
I can't remember, are we still working on a head custodian one, or have we come up with one for head custodian? You have that already?
Didn't we pass it out? One of the board meetings?
Might have
I
to.
think we did that one when we did the,
Open it up.
yeah.
First and second, all those in favor?
Were you gonna ask questions?
He's
He's not in the middle.
Sorry, I can't.
There must be a source that you got these from though, because that's just a lot in a short amount of time.
No, we've been working on these for quite a while. I mean, over the last 2 years, we've been working on these. So it isn't something we did in the last month.
No.
No, we've been, as they came up, we've been adding to them. I mean, we just finished
MTSBA has,
Christina's-
and MTSBA has kind of blank formats for some of these, and then they've been worked on like since then, so.
Any other questions? Sorry, Stan.
It's okay.
Do a recount?
I'm abstaining because of lack of knowledge and it's just too much for me at one time.
Okay, so I have 3 votes, 1 abstain. Sound good?
All right, we are on to reports.
First one, well, enrollment. So we did kind of look at a lot of that in the.
Yeah, enrollment, yeah, I mean, it's helped, just give you an idea, down 58 students over the last 2 years. -9 this year, last year, -31 over the past 2 years, 19 to 2004, we're down 58. That's 348,000 with an average of $6K per student. So this doesn't also include loss of impact aid, Title I, et cetera. So it is substantial, and that count does matter. If you look at the numbers, that's a lot of dollars. So that was kind of do that earlier, but that's the big bold is that's, you know, we're looking at a big negative in dollars.
I'll have to do some recruiting this summer, some videos, social media, something.
Yes.
Harmony Elementary is like 19, is that what I heard you say in high school? Do you have a number? Because the Harmony is included in these numbers.
Yeah, so that helped us. I mean, instead, like last year, you know, we were -31 over the past 2 years. This year, we're only -9. So we've made up. But it's only half of the half that we've made up. So It's still down, but it is helping.
In the elementary report said there were 12, how many students?
I was thinking 19, but the number
I
was
think it is-
there.
I think it's-
17 was the final count, but we've got 19 kind of in and out. We're on the roster right now. We got 20, and I think we just added one more.
Right.
So we're right at 20. We were only charged for 17. They were pretty good because our count, some of them were just getting in. So
3 of them came in after count date, so I asked Mr. Sargent to negotiate because they weren't actually counted. So since we didn't start serving them till after, they didn't charge us.
And I forgot to ask the question earlier when you mentioned it. We were down 9 we were down numbers since count day.
Yes.
So
That
where are those students going since we agreed to a
Great-
non-transfer after?
Great
a certain
question, Tony.
it just means they left. It doesn't mean they didn't go out of district to another district. They moved. They couldn't move anywhere in the valley
2 of them
or transfer from live here and go somewhere.
2 of them had addresses in the town that they went to, so they were out of districts that we'd approved. They went back to that
in
district,
district.
which I don't believe was against the agreement that superintendents had, but the rest of them,
Move completely out of the valley.
Admin?
Swift is gone.
What's going on?
Caitlin said she didn't have anything besides what's on there.
AD, do you have anything to add to your report?
No, sir.
Elementary's here. Middle school, high school. Tech.
Hello. I'll be quick. The big one is, I got an email yesterday. Well, there's a couple, I guess. Google's going to be changing the way that Google Workspace licensing works. From what I have been able to determine so far, it probably won't affect anybody but me. It'll make my life a little bit more of a pain, but hopefully not anybody else's. I don't think it'll cost us any more money. Land School is the software we use for Chromebook monitoring. It will be expiring in December, and we've opted to go with a different solution for that problem. It'll be a little bit less expensive, a little bit more effective, we think. So we're going to try that out. The other big one is Chromebooks. I have been and am still working on making sure I know where all of our Chromebooks are and what state they're in and how enrolled they are and yada, yada, yada. I've got all that information. I had a 6-page report printed up and then said, if you want it, I'll give it to you. But here's the rundown. Basically, our current fleet is sufficient for what we need. In fact, it's a little bigger than what we need right now. That is a result of basically getting every Chromebook we possibly could immediately post-COVID. There are a lot of donated stuff, a lot of federally funded stuff, a lot of tribal donation stuff, we're very fortunate to get a lot of help in that arena. Chromebook's usefulness is rated in what's called its AUE, or its auto update expiration policy. That's basically when it quits guaranteeing that it's going to work, basically. Before I finished this process, finished in quotes, soft finish, we had some in the middle school that were running their mass testing. They were just too old. Part of this process was figuring out where we had excesses. Some elementary classrooms had more than they needed. Middle school had fewer than they needed. I was able to do some rebalancing. I think I've got, as soon as we get some power supplies in, we'll have everybody in the district in the clear for now. We don't have anything that's going to expire until 2027. That's great, but at that time we'll have 200 going out. So I am recommending that we start looking at a policy year by year to start making sure that we are current. Obviously, that doesn't take into account if we get some donations, we get some funding money, we get some whatever. At the size of our current fleet, That would cost us about, if we replace what I think we'll need every year, if we want to keep the size of our fleet the size it is, it'll cost about $37,000 a year. If we let the fleet atrophy by about 35 or 40%, which is what I think we can afford to do, that'll take the price down to about $24,000 a year. That's if we spend $300 a device. These are kind of guesses based on what a device and an enrollment license is going to cost. Again, that doesn't take into account donated devices, federal money, grant programs, art stuff, ARP. You know, a lot of places we've gotten devices in the past. So that's something to start thinking about anyway. That's sort of what our Chromebook fleet is eventually going to cost us a year. And again, it's a rough number, but I think fairly accurate. That's about all I got, unless there are any questions for me.
Can you remind me again, what is the cost of a unit?
I'm using $300 as a rough estimate. That includes a management license, which is a one-time fee, but you have to buy one for each device. There are other pricing models for that. I don't think they're more cost-effective. Let me rephrase. I've looked into it at the way we're doing things now, and would like to. They wouldn't be more cost-effective. So that's a rough number, about $300 a device.
So my reading between the lines here is they're just not worth trying to fix. Once they reach that point, it's just tossing.
It's not so much that they need to be fixed. It's that, so the auto update expiration is how long Google will provide software and security updates for the device. It's based on the date of manufacture. Now, Google's policy in 2020 was it would provide 4 years of updates. It then extended to 6 and then 8 and now 10, which is, in my opinion, as someone who spent all day fixing Chromebooks today, and my butt hurts for it, the useful life of a device is probably only about 6 or 7 years. That's sort of what I can hope to get out of a device.
Yeah, then there seems like a stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we plan on 6 or 7 years for a device, again, this is all looking into a murky future. Who knows for sure, but I think we can. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah. What do you do with all this? When you get one that's just kaput?
If they are functional still, we'll put them in the auction. Actually, that's not totally true. If they're functional, I'll keep them. We have some ancillary uses, like Mr. Hendrickson needs a dozen of them to run parent surveys, or they do that down in elementary school, or scholarship applications. If whoever's running Gear Up needs a dozen of them to do scholarship applications with the seniors, they still work, but there are certain, for example, mass testing, which isn't supported on a device that's past its AEU. So we're not tossing them in the trash if they're still worth anything, but I have quite a few now that are in that position. They're still working, but aren't something we can really put into classrooms as these are your Chromebooks. But so when we get to a certain surplus there, then they go into the auction and we can sell them off to seniors as they graduate, or we can get creative. We can have a lot of options. If they are inoperable, then they don't use it. There's a truck that comes every fall, right, to pick up the load. Yeah.
Because a lot of the fleet's about the same age because it came in without, is that if
you would think that it's a lot more varied than you might suspect. I have those numbers and I can certainly email them to you.
Oh, no, I'm not just saying. Better to start the replacing before they all.
Yeah.
We started piecing them together in like 2018. I think.
Yeah. Yep. We had a fair fleet. Right now, the other problem that made this so hard, this collection of data so hard to do, is that because we took on so many so fast, I say we, I wasn't doing it then, didn't really understand the importance of tracking this stuff at the time. A lot of that record keeping is stuff that I've had to go back and retroactively figure out. We're currently tracking in the admin console where I can see all this information. We're tracking almost 1,200 devices total. that have ever been licensed to the school. Of those, there are about 800 that are still active. Now that includes there are quite a few devices that are broken and deprovisioned, but it also includes devices we use for ELL testing, devices that there's more than we need, essentially. So their AUE dates are also very different based on when those devices were manufactured, not when they were purchased. So if we purchased a device, hey, we got 60 Chromebooks real cheap. Well, they only have 2 years of AUE left on them. We did a lot of that because we didn't really understand the impact of that. So there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, sounds like you're on top of it.
Well, I think I've got it
Yeah.
about figured out. I'm going to start the process. My next step is now deprovision everything that we're not using. And that's going to be a screen test. I will have teachers calling me. I tell you right now. I thought about doing it last week, and Chantel said, no, we're testing. Don't touch them. So, yeah, that'll be fun. Yes.
Thank you. Sarge?
ED.
AD what?
Done? Okay, so I don't have anything to add. Sorry, I was receiving here. Jill Valley was here Monday. Aviation flight simulator program should be on KPAC sometimes later this week. And CPI training complete. That's where I was last week. And passed with a 95%. Right. So that's all I have.
So you got a garage door. Are they moved in there? It's still got a little bit
No,
of finish.
because we're waiting on, I'm not allowing to move anything in until Jacob does a walkthrough. I just don't want anything in there that, in case there's something wrong, there's some things I want Jacob to look through, so everything's done, but we just need to get Jacob up here to do a walkthrough, and then we can start moving in. Close.
No, look.
And when is elementary principal on leave?
Last 2 weeks, next 3 months.
Till next 3 months.
The question I had about that report here is how we're saving the district over $10,000. How does that work out?
If we were gonna have Steve Picard sub,
Which is doing?
he's not.
He's not. Oh, okay. So if we just get Mr. Klein or somebody who's part of their day, and they don't get an extra.
If I'm gone.
Yeah.
So if I'm gone, I'll have Steve or Mr. Klein get us up.
Agreed upon rate.
Yeah, Steve agreed to $225 a day, and for the Mr. Klein, it's just a day sub, 95. So that's where the 10 grand. If you paid an administrator to come in and sub, that's where the savings would be substantial.
Do you call Mr. Klein first? And then...
Yeah, I'm not gone that much.
Yeah. With the legislative session, you anticipate a little more? Well,
probably not. I mean, most of our stuff's done over Zoom or contacting legislators. You know,
like your teacher, it's easier.
I can do most of my stuff. Once a month for interdisciplinary, once a month for Missoula. Outside of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last week was the exception and too long. Here we go. And we missed him. On Friday.
The only question I had was on AD. Sorry, a lot of good recognition for our athletes this last fall. Was there sports banquets scheduled? Do you know?
Volleyball is scheduled for tomorrow, I believe. That up for like awards banquets?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Marissa just told me about that a couple days ago. for the kids tomorrow. I'm not sure about football. Certificates have been in my office for cross country for a while. I don't know.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we do get those out to kids that deserve those in recognition of their athletics. Because we have it, some in the past that hasn't gotten them out yet.
And fixing some of those things that haven't happened in the past.
Oh, just Harlan did. He got all state in cross country.
Say it to the camera, Larry.
He did. Sorry, I was just really
No,
excited.
top
I was
five,
hoping
man.
that-
That's
yeah.
really good.
Great.
So he finished top 5 or top 50. You have to finish top 15 in cross country. Finished in the top 15 at the state meet, and he finished 5th. So improved. It has probably the 3rd or 4th fastest time in
That's
the
awesome.
school.
Nice.
So if you don't count the Charlotte meet, and if you know anything, the Charlotte meet happened a few years ago. No, Landry was a senior, so it was short by a significant enough amount that,
Really?
oh yeah, yeah, they didn't do it again. That was the one time they did it.
Landry set a record.
Probably, which we know that was not going to be very fast. So we're like, that tells us something. So anyway,
Cool.
Yeah, make sure those awards banquets get scheduled.
All right.
We used to do them all one night.
Right.
Good. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. 9:05.